okay, I'm just going to hike across the creek and go up that hillside because the elk had been feeding upstream about a mile in this big meadow, and then they'd head up in the hills to their bedding area. So when I left camp and I crossed the creek, I had plastic bags that I used as waders to get across the creek, and I'd leave the plastic bags on the other
side. Yeah.
I hadn't gone up the creek quarter of a mile, and I was coming through some not blowdowns, but pine thickets with my back pushing through, and I turned around, and there was a 4-point bull and 2 cows going up the hill right in front of me at 30 yards. And they probably thought I was just another elk following them. And so I drew back and shot, and I was aiming for, he was kind of quartering away from me, and I shot, and I hit him right in the femoral artery in his back leg.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like shooting him in the heart.
Yeah.
I mean, blood sprayed all over the place, and I found him 50 yards away dead. And my first elk, a 4x4, and the largest branched antler.
Robin Hood and Little John are walking through the forest, laughing back and forth at what the other one has to say.
All right. Welcome back again to another week with us in the Reckless podcast studio. Me, my brother Tyrel here.
How you guys doing?
Doing good, buddy. Doing good. Just feels a lot like we're just sitting in the living room with all this wisdom to our right.
Yep.
And excited to get into that with Paul Navarre. I like that I don't know a ton about your story. I kind of wanted to keep it that way because it keeps me curious, and it'll have us. It won't have me pulling us into something that everybody's already heard.
That sounds fair.
Yeah, and so like I told you before we started here, I'm super excited. You are. How old are you?
Actually, I'll be 86 in March.
You look freaking good for 86.
Looking awesome
and kicking ass. And so, I mean, there's a lot even just there. You know, I think a lot about how many Septembers I've got left in my life. You know, and you're an inspiration in that way for sure. We were just talking about what I call lost bull behind me because this is a bull I shot but didn't harvest and found him the next year on the mountain.
Yes.
And you said you shot one like that. Just a lot like this guy with your recurve this year at 18 yards.
Yeah, second day I hunted.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So there's probably not enough time to get into everything that I really want to talk about. But Paul, will you just introduce us a little bit to who you are, where you came from, and
sure.
And just so we can know who we're talking to today. But again, guys, thank you for joining us on the Reckless podcast in studio today. So we're pushing episode 20 now, Tyrel.
Getting close.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool. So,
well, I'm glad to be part of that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fun.
We're grateful.
Anything I can do to perpetuate the sport of archery and the outdoors and get more people involved in that. So that's good. So what's Paul Navarre all about? Well, first of all, I was born in 1940. So you got to remember that was before the Second World War.
Yep.
Yeah.
And grew up in Ohio. And when I was 9 years old, we moved up to Lake Erie. Best thing that ever happened to a kid because I was right there on the water. And then a mile down the beach was these marshes and great place for kids to go roam around and get in the outdoors. Now, you got to remember there was radio and maybe the inkling of television back then. But we didn't get our first television until I was 15 years old. And there were only 3 channels, 2 in Cleveland, 1 in Toledo, and we were in between. And so radio was really important because you could use your imagination. And so, you know, you had Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, Gene Autry, The Shadow, Gangbusters, all these things. And you would listen to that on radio and your mind would just gravitate and your mind would be exposed and you could just see what was going on. Almost like going to a play or a reader's play where they sit on chairs and read and you just close your eyes and you can kind of visualize what's going on. Technology has changed, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Who were you when you were playing? Were you Roy Rogers? Who did you pretend to be?
I remember this is when I was living in Akron, Ohio. I was probably around 7 years old. I had a bike, and I more gravitated towards the Indian culture for some reason.
Yeah.
And I would ride around with my swimsuit on, but I'd have a little loincloth on, and I'd get my mom's lipstick and put it on my face, and I had a little tomahawk, and I'd ride around the neighborhood. And maybe I even went out in the woods and cut a limb and got some string and made a bow.
Yep.
And so I was sort of like that. And as kids, we did what we could in the woods. We'd find scrap lumber or some logs and build a tree hut. Not today. you go to some of these playgrounds and they're all manufactured out of plastic.
Yeah.
And no imagination there as kids. But we'd get poison ivy, on ourselves. We'd swing on vines, natural vines, maybe. Of course, your parents would say, hey, if you break a leg, don't come running home to me.
Yeah.
So there's that sort of thing. And then we moved up to Lake Erie. It was just a wonderful place for kids. I could fish. I'd go up the beach. I'd comb the beach. I'd do a little duck hunting when I was able to. I can remember the first duck I ever killed back when I was, maybe 14 years old.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good memories there. We worked on the farms as kids, making $1.25 an hour detasseling corn for hybrid corn production. Walked behind a tractor with a digger on the back, bringing up potatoes, and we'd get 50 cents a bushel for picking them up. So that's how we made our money. Maybe we'd make $30 a month, of which our parents would take half of it and put it in our piggy bank.
Good.
And then we, could buy a baseball glove or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of course, I remember the first time I got my first BB gun, and then I got my first .22 rifle, which I still have
Okay.
at home. Yeah, had a scope on it, and boy, Weaver 4-power scope.
Uh-huh.
Then you got to squirrel hunt, and you went woodchuck hunting, and then your dad gave me his old hand-me-down shotgun. It was a Model 12 Winchester, 1897 with the hammer. And back in the day, that was the model that the police cars had in their rack. That was their go-to shotgun in there. So I had that for a long time. And so that's how it kind of evolved. And then I think when I went in the Air Force in 1959 for 4 years, I was stationed in the Upper Peninsula. I played football. I was pretty good at a left guard. Played defense in senior. I played baseball. I was a left fielder and had a really good arm. I was terrible at basketball. All right. And I ran track. I did the 880 relay.
While you were in the Air Force, you did.
No, that's just in high school.
In high school.
But I wasn't a great student, but I got A's in shop.
Yeah,
So.
of course.
But then I went to in the Air Force for 4 years, grew up, was on a SAC base in UP, and bought a Recurve bow in 1962 from the base BX. It was maybe 45, 50 pounders, some arrows, 3-bladed bodkin heads, and went cruising around the woods and shot my first doe deer in 1962. Now, what's interesting about that is that last year I drew a bull moose tag for Colorado after 25 years. And I shot this bull moose with the Recurve at 19 yards, fourth day of the season, spot and stalked him, snuck up on him. And so I shot my very first deer species at 1962. And then almost 60 years later, I shot the largest North American deer species, a bull moose.
Yeah.
Right? So
all with the Recurve.
Yeah. And I've shot most of my animals with the compound. But the last 4 or 5 animals I shot with my Recurve.
What took you from the compound to the Recurve at this stage in life? And I mean, I always feel the draw. I think there's something about it that it just feels more and more real.
Well, and that is true. And let's go in reverse. So when I wanted to come out to Colorado and elk hunt in 1988, I thought, boy, I need more power than my Recurve. So I went and bought my very first Oregon Recurve bow, compound bow. I'm sorry.
Compound, yeah.
And I shot with it, and I shot my first elk out here in Colorado, north of Glenwood Springs in the Flat Top Wilderness area. And that's how I thought I needed more power. Sure. And over the years, I've gotten a few more. But 20 years ago, being a life member of the Colorado Bow Hunters Association, much like Joe Brady, who sat in the same chair a couple of weeks ago, I won this bow at a raffle that was given to those who had gained a lot of CBA memberships. And my name was called, and I got this $900 Recurve.
Yeah.
And so it kind of brought back the beginning of my hunting with the Recurve. But I really like the simplicity of a Recurve bow. So 3 years ago, after shooting 14 elk with the compound, and shooting them no more than, I've never killed an elk over 20 or 30 yards yet.
Right.
I thought, I'm getting to that point in my life. my muscle mass is going to be diminishing. I won't be as strong as will I still be able to pull my recurve back at
Right.
55 pounds. That was my challenge. So my bucket list was, let's kill a bull elk with my recurve bow.
Yeah.
And I enjoy sharing those experiences with the Colorado Bowhunters members and writing new stories. I've written, 10 different hunting stories for the
Yeah.
CBA. And sure enough, and where I'm hunting on the flat tops is over wallows or a wet meadow. So I hunt a couple hours in the morning, maybe 2 hours in the evening, and then I'm out of there. I don't chase them around.
Yeah.
So I knew the shots weren't going to be any farther than 20 yards. And sure enough, over this particular wallow, I shot this bull elk as he came in at 7:15 at 20 yards and got him. And then last year, of course, I shot my bull moose at 19 yards. And then this year, over that same wallow, I shot that type of bull elk
That twin.
at 7:30. He came walking in and stopped 18 yards right in front of me. I'm back in the shadows, downwind.
Yeah.
And I only hunt this place in the evening because that cool breeze is coming down. And I let the water, little pools of water in this mud mound, be the decoy. He comes walking in and I shot him at 18 yards and he died in 30 seconds.
Is that a wallow that I mean, for a new guy, and let's say now we're, hunting has changed where we can look at maps and we can do all of our homework.
Sure.
Is that something that you found and you went, there's a pretty high likelihood an animal's going to come to this wallow?
No
Are
doubt
you
about
out scouting and kind of watching that wallow through the summer and kind of, it's hard because you've been there before.
Sure.
But I mean, as a young guy going, okay, I'm going to find a nice wallow and I'm just going to focus on that.
Well, sometimes you just have to put boots on the ground and look around.
Yeah.
And I don't have Onyx and I do have Google Earth, but it doesn't show any particular under the trees canopy where those areas are. So I just happened to stumble upon this a half a mile down from my camp.
And you saw that it had been used, it had been turned over.
Yeah,
It was
and of course,
over.
there's this investment cattle up there too, so they're tromping around, and there might be. I've never seen any moose up there, but you just know it's the only water in the area sometimes. And over the last 7 years, we've been going through this drought in Colorado, and so some of the meadows, like the one 500 yards from my camp, where it was a source of a spring that flowed by my camp and all the way down 2 miles to where my truck is. That was a source of my water, and of course, it was an attractive place for the elk to come and deer to come and bears to come. Because I've had bears on my trail camera there. Yeah. So technology has changed a lot from just a few magazines on the outdoor life rack at the stores, Outdoor Life and Field and Stream,
right,
to what it is today. I say if you're an underwater basket weaver, there's a magazine there for you.
There is.
So they just pick apart all the little things in life and make them into a magazine. And so that's changed a lot. Electronics, Google Earth, Facebook Reels, the communication that we have with one another, sharing of information, being a members of certain hunting groups, sharing information. It's just amazing, the information out there. I remember when I started training my first black lab years ago, I bought a book called Training a Retriever by James Lamprey. Well, now you go on Facebook, or if you go on Google search, and you can find all sorts of technology and
video after
books
video
and
after
video of how to do it,
Yeah.
or whether you want to shoot your bow in a better way and what sights to use and what arrows to use.
Yeah.
I never knew what FOC meant when I bought my first arrow up there at the Air Force Base in Michigan. So now I do, but so I like to shoot the compound. But I'll be leaving actually Thursday when the Colorado archery deer season reopens, and I'll go out east and sit in a tree stand, which I've killed 3 other bucks out of, and I'll just relax because I don't need the meat. I've got moose meat from last year. I've got the elk from this year. I'm just going to go see what I see. And if something exceptionally comes by, I might shoot it, but I'm not going to shoot a doe. I don't need anything smaller than that. But so grew up as a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
And grew up in a rural area and grew up on farms. And as a kid, when you're growing up, and my dad did a little bit of hunting, but he was more of a group hunter. He went to the duck marshes with his buddies. He went on deer trips with his buddies. And sometimes I'd get to tag along locally. But I just grew up in the outdoors. And some kids just gravitate to that, and I did. And so I really enjoyed all that. And then went in the service, lived up in the rural areas of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and right in the middle of deer forests, and then went out to South Dakota and became a regional planner after college, and pheasants and ducks and geese and all that, and then moved back to Ohio and then back to Colorado. And in
Was it the elk that drew you to Colorado?
Well, when people ask my wife Tricia, why'd you guys move to Colorado from Ohio? Paul wanted to elk hunt every year as a resident.
Yep.
So we moved out here in 1991 and bought a 9,000 square foot lodge on Lake Granby and did a bed and breakfast restaurant tavern for 10 years. And there was Lake Granby with
the right spot for sure.
This great big lake trout, and I'd go out there and I probably caught 18 fish over 3 feet long, let them all go. And actually I was, since I have a biology, somewhat of a biology degree, a minor, but natural history background, I hooked up with Jake Bennett, who was a fish biologist, and he gave me a tagging gun to tag lake trout, measure them, get their worth, and so I gave him some data about the growth of lake trout, and then I'd write down some numbers of the tags.
And those get
that were on
really
there.
old. I had a good conversation with somebody on a fishing trip that has fished Lake Granby a lot.
Yes.
And talk to us about that, because I think it's, Tyrel, if you haven't heard, I mean, they'll get 40, 50 years old, won't they?
That is exactly true. Yeah. That is exactly true.
Can
That's
you imagine
amazing.
catching a fish that's
No.
older than you?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing at all.
It's insane.
It really is. And the good eaters are the ones that are about 18, 20 inches long. And if they have a black mouth, that means that their meat is pinkish inside. And if they have a white mouth, that means that the flesh is kind of white inside. So you prefer the ones with the pinking flesh because it's almost like a salmon in color. They're eating a lot of protein.
Yeah.
And when they're small, when their lake trout are smaller, they're eating a lot of algae and they're eating a lot of small minnows and things like that. But when they get bigger, then they become predators, and then they're eating the trout this big and things like that. So it's a neat experience to catch those big fish and then let them go. And I used to ice fish there, and so it was good. So I've always been an outdoor guy, and I just evolved into an outdoor guy, and I'm very conscious of my surroundings.
Yeah.
I mean, and in today's society, they say, you need to know what's going on around you. And some people don't have that ability to always look out that corner of their eye to see what's going on there and here and here.
Yeah.
So I have that ability not only out of doors, when when Tricia and I are on a trip, and I said, look at those deer. I'm looking 400 yards away in a corner of a field way over that hump, and she's looking right in the ditch. Now she's learned to look at
the back corner of that open field.
Not only that, but all the animals their backs are parallel to the ground and not like trees are standing vertical. So she's learning how to spot those animals and little parts of them. I see it.
Yeah.
So it's always it's been a learned behavior with me, but I've just gravitated to that way. And then I have a natural resource background and know about what the animals need, food, shelter, water, escape routes, whether it's up at 12,000 feet where I shot my mountain goat and bighorn sheep, or down on a prairie where the pronghorn lived. They all need that same thing. So it's just, I've just, being 80, almost 86 in March.
Yeah. When's your birthday? March what?
March 7th.
I'm the 14th.
Oh,
maybe we'd line up.
Yeah. Well, we're Pisces. We're
just a couple of years apart.
We're fish that are going up downstream. Sometimes we don't know which way we're going, but I'm always going upstream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell people life is like a marathon, which I ran 2 before I hit 40. Life is like a marathon. All it takes is putting one foot in front of the other to finish and finish strong. And life is like that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
how do you keep that old man off your back? Because I mean, for your age, you're extremely healthy. Like what, us young guys, we're looking at that, and
yes,
it's a long ways away. But like, you're here, you're very, very present and alive. And how do you keep that old man? You wake up in the morning and you go just.
It's a great question, and I think I'm going to go back 10 years when I turned 75. And I was thinking, gee, my dad passed away at 84, so I just outlived my dad by a year.
Yeah.
My mom lived to be 95. She didn't have cancer. She wasn't a diabetic. She just outlived her life. Yeah. And 10 years ago, I thought, oh, gee. And when my dad passed away 20 years ago, I thought, gee, I've only got if I live to be his age, I'm in my early 60s now. I've only got 20 more years to live.
Yeah.
And that really kind of bothered me for the first year. And then I went, okay, get over it. Life goes on. And Tricia says, hey, we don't get out of this world alive. Basically.
No, we don't.
And so, but when I turned 75, in the last 10 years, I tell people the year doesn't have 365 days anymore. It's got like 150. That 10 years has just gone, wow.
Yeah.
So quickly.
Yeah.
So quickly. And so another saying I go by is that the life we're living today is not a dress rehearsal for our next life. So grab up all the gusto you can now.
Yeah.
All right. And so I think I've always tried to be, the outdoors has kept me going. And I love elk hunting. And I'm a solo hunter. Very seldom do I ever go hunting with anybody.
With a 3-pack of guys, a collar, and that whole
No.
setup. Yeah.
And I haven't drank a beer in a long time. I drink very little alcohol, maybe one little half a shot a month with a little vodka and a lot of juice.
Yep.
And I've always tried to keep in shape, keep my weight down. I probably weigh 12 pounds more than I did in high school. And like I said, I ran some marathons. And up until last year, I used to ride my gravel bike all over the Fort Collins area to keep in shape. And it was all about legs and lungs and getting in shape.
Yes.
And knocking my 5 pounds off my body so I could climb the mountain.
Yeah.
And where I go elk hunting in the flat tops, I gained 1,400 vertical feet in 2 miles. And so this year, after I had this hip replaced in February 10th, all right, I went, okay, Paul, is it going to get you up there? And it did. Went up and down, no problem, carrying 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And set up my camp. And
where'd you have your hip done?
In Loveland, right here in Loveland. Yeah.
At OCR.
Did a good job.
We were under the knife on the same day.
That's February 10th?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Your foot?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My foot tendons, I had torn both the tendons off my ankle. And so I got cadaver tendons put in on February 10th at the Loveland OCR.
Okay.
So we were in there together.
Isn't that amazing?
It's funny. Yeah.
That is.
really fun.
But, and 2 days after, when the pain medicine wore off, I called I said, Tricia, I need to go to the ER here in Fort Collins. Something's going wrong here. Yeah. And they did a whole examination. It's
after that nerve block went away.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's like, and I had to sit there in the bed with a strap on my leg to try to get the leg to the floor so I could get up.
Uh-huh.
But now I can finally get my sock on without a sock helper.
Yeah,
and that's a monumental. And I can't cross this leg like I can this one.
Yeah,
I can get it up about here, but that's a
big win.
I'm blessed.
Yeah. It's that kind of 24, 48 hours. I was feeling pretty good about 40 out, and I thought, because I was insistent, I was like, I'm going to lift everything I can lift except for that foot. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the nerve block was still in, and I think something about, I came out here to the weight room, and I got a really good hard like upper body and whatever else I could move workout in, and something about all that movement kind of like washed that. I don't know if I'll say washed, but it kind of pushed whatever that nerve block was, all those drugs out of my system.
Sure.
And by the time I got from here back into the house, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
The pain.
I've always felt that my body absorbs medication really quickly, like an aspirin, and I can just feel it working really quickly. And it's maybe because I don't drink and I haven't smoked for years and years and years. And so I drink a lot of water, a lot of water. I'm trying to drink almost a gallon of water every day. And I even have a half a gallon jug on the counter with my name on it, Paul's Water. Make sure I dehydrate a lot.
So nobody else in the house drinks it.
Well,
your wife,
my wife can, but she's got it. Yeah. And so my outdoor activities are so important to me.
Yes.
It keeps me focused on what I want to do. And I'm always planning ahead. Like right now, I'm thinking about not only doing this great show, but also bow hunting in 4 days.
Yeah.
And then what am I going to do after that? Well, maybe I'll just bow hunt for a week, and then I'll be able to take my dog duck hunting. And then I have a friend that bought 30 acres on the North Platte River, and he's shot a buck and 2 does on his property already just for the good meat. And he has got some friends from Florida coming up to hunt with him. And then I get to go back up there and do some duck hunting on his part of the river.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that all the time. And then I'm thinking about, I'm a member of the Platte Valley Hunting and Retriever Club, and they're a great bunch of guys that try to take their retrievers and make them better dogs. So when they go hunting, that dog is a great retriever or hunter to bring back that bird. Great conservationist because they're not losing any birds.
Yeah.
And so I'm a member of that. And of course, I'm a life, like Joe, I'm a life member of the Colorado Bow Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And like Joe, recently he voted as Bow Hunter of the Year, and I was that way. I was done. That was my pleasure and my honor to have that done 15 years ago. And Joe completed the Colorado Big 8, which I did. And then he completed the Colorado Big 9, which I did with the moose.
Yeah.
And so...
and you said that the Desert
Bighorn.
Desert Bighorn is the only thing you have left.
And that's what most hunters... So I was number 58 back 15 years ago to get the Big 8. And then I was ironically, number 58 to get the number 9.
The same. Yeah.
So that only leaves... There's only 3 bow hunters in Colorado that have taken all 10 species, and that's the Desert Bighorn sheep is that one.
Yeah.
That normally is the last one, but there's only 15 tags, and it's not a preference point system. It's a random draw. So you could draw the first year you put in or never.
Okay.
And so most people, it's never.
It's never. Yeah.
Yeah. And that season is in November, and it's a either choice weapon of choice.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it with gun, suppose a high power pistol,
down
maybe,
to anything,
and a bow. Yeah. So of course I'd love to get that. So yeah.
But there's no way to stack the deck in your favor. It's just,
there is not.
If you get it,
it's just a random draw. But it's interesting about the moose. I told you a little bit about the spirits of meeting.
Yes.
I should have brought the medicine bag in. I think as we get older and we get more mature and we start thinking more about family, more about religion, more about the spirits and who created all this wonderful environment around us, we start mellowing out more. We start thinking more about other people than ourselves. You know, my wife has said, "Yeah, you've matured," and we've been married 43 years now. I was married 17 years before that. But she says, "Oh yeah, you're mature. You've matured a lot, Paul." And she's a very loving wife and very giving, because my space is at the outdoors, and she's more into theater. Although I've taken her hunting a couple of times, but she has shot a turkey with a shotgun in Nebraska and tried to shoot a duck, but she's never practiced with a shotgun.
Sure.
But she loves the wild game that I bring home. But so waiting 25 years for this moose license last year. And I even told Tricia, I said, I'm aging out of this stuff, this moose hunt, because I'm a solo hunter and I can just see myself 3 miles from my truck standing over an 800, 900 pound Chavis bull moose, and it's died in a clear cut and the sun is baking down on it. And what the heck am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so I was almost, and I had 25 years of applying, and I applied for that area called 171, just over Cameron Pass, where they planted moose, Division of Wildlife, in the late 70s. They put a couple dozen Chavis moose from Wyoming in there. Now we have 3,000 of those across Colorado, and they issue, probably 400 licenses, bull and cow combined in certain areas.
Was that the first moose in Colorado that they brought in?
There were probably some stragglers that came in from Wyoming, but not a substantial herd at all. But they brought those in the late 70s to develop a herd. Yeah. And the first few years of allowing licenses, it was just a random draw until the moose population got up to 1,000. Then in 2000, they went to preference points. And now it's, there's 54,000 people applying for those licenses. Yeah. And, but it's, speaking about the spirits, and you start. So I'm in Starbucks in a coffee shop in Fort Collins, and I go in there and read and just relax a little bit. It's 5 minutes from my house, and I enjoy talking to people. And like I said, I don't have a smartphone, so I'm not sitting there
distracted.
Texting anybody. And I walk in, and there's a gentleman sitting there with his back to me, and he's got this rounded top hat with a wide bill, and his beautiful hat band. All beaded hat band. I said, "Sir, that's what a beautiful hat band. There's got to be a story behind that." And he turns around, and his turquoise earrings kind of swung in unison. And I noticed that I don't think he'd ever shaven in his life, He was an Americanized Apache Indian. That's where his heritage came from. His name is Clouds on Fire Martinez. Clouds on Fire. And he supported his tribe, clan down in New Mexico. He taught the youth about the history and of the Indians. And so we started talking about that because I'd read a lot of Western history about the Indians, some fictional, some non-fictional. So I was very interested in his take on all this. And then I told him I had just come back from Nebraska, and I was up there archery turkey hunting, and I'd killed a really nice Merriman's bird, which has that nice white band on its tail and a rump, and I usually dry those fans out, and you can make a round display on your walls or just give them away. Yeah. And he said, do you have any extra turkey feathers? And I said, yes, I do. And I said, matter of fact, I'm drawing a tail out right now. I could bring that to you. What are you going to use it for? Clouds on Fire says, I'm going to take it down to my ancestors or my clan, and during their spiritual ceremonies, which they still do, they're going to use that as a fan, a wand, to bring spiritual smoke up over their bodies and cleanse themselves.
Yeah.
I went, and I'd read about that, but I'd never had anybody express that to me face to face.
Yeah.
So I went home and got it, brought it back. He says, Paul, let's go outside. We go around the corner, and out of his pocket, and I have one hanging in my car, a medicine bag made out of deer hide and has some beadwork on it. And he put some dust in his hand out of that medicine bag. And he says, Paul, this is corn pollen. Corn pollen. He says, yeah, now think about it. Think about this. The Aztecs and the Incas and the Central American Indians raised maize back in the centuries ago. Mm-hmm. And they fed thousands of people with that corn. So there was a lot of spirits in that pollen. And as I told you, I used to detassel corn in Ohio, and you get corn pollen on you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And so I didn't think about the spirits of it back then, how the Indians even thought about it. But even local Indians, and especially the Navajos and Apaches, thought corn pollen was very life-giving. So he says, here, dust your face and dust your shoulders, dust your pants with this. And then he said something in Apache, little prayers like thanking me for giving him that gift. And then he says, then he took the feathers and he dusted it, and then he turned it in 4 compass points of the compass, east, south, west, and north. And he said something in Apache to each point. Now, each point on the compass to the Indians represents different spirits of giving and blessing. And that was really moving to me. Mm-hmm. So we go inside after that, and I talked about how I see animals that I kill, and I'm over, and I said, I put my hand on their warm body and thank them for giving up their lives. And he says, Paul, yes, you could be one of our elders. Just speak with that type of thinking. He said, I'm going to get your own medicine bag. And he did. So I have that hanging in my car right now. Now, I take this is in May now. So I take it home, and it's sitting right here next to the sofa. And it's been there for a couple of days. And Tricia comes out of the computer room and says, Paul, you got a note from the Division of Wildlife. I think you drew your moose tag. And I went, no. You just read down it. It'll say, no, you were unsuccessful. Yeah. I go in there, and sure enough, I drew the moose tag after 25 years. And so the connection between Clouds on Fire and the spirits of that medicine bag and the blessings, maybe, in my mind, yes, yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Got me that moose tag.
Yeah.
And so I go moose hunting. And I was joined by a friend of mine, Randy from Gunnison, who'd been on some moose hunts, but wasn't the hunter during this case. But he had a wealth of knowledge. And he could really remember all the moose we saw on that scouting trips. And so on the 4th day, I spot this moose. And Tricia had come up. So I feel the black lab, who's out in the truck, is in the back seat. And we're going down this drainage in the first light. And I see this 4x8 sheet of plywood out there about 200 yards in the meadow. And I went, wait a minute, it's got legs and it's got big antlers. That's a bull moose. Yeah. And I was able to sneak up on it and get an arrow in it, and then get another arrow in it later when it was dying, and then it fell in the creek. Before the season started, unrelated to Clouds on Fire, Randy and I walked into a nearby elk camp. 5 guys in there with modern trucks, modern bows, modern sleeping arrangements, were all Americanized Indians. And George, who was the elder, said, my background is an Apache Indian. Clouds on Fire and George had no idea of each other. And George says, if we can help you, if you get a moose, let us know. So when that moose is dead in the creek, foot of water,
Yes.
but the sandbar is about 20 yards away, we had to get him up there.
Yeah.
I told Tricia, the medicine bag is burning a hole in my pocket. I know exactly where to go to get help. And sure enough, they were able to come over and help me drag it up. But what George said, because he understood the blessings of animals that they harvest, and unlike the TV shows we watch today, where it's a lot of horn porn, they don't talk about how good that animal is going to be tasting, the backstraps, the tenderloins, the ribs, whatever. It's all about, look at those horns. And it would, other than a couple shows that actually do a cooking after, and I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
That they're showing people that they're really utilizing these animals. So George said, Paul, I'm going to offer some suggestions. He said, if you get a bull elk or bull moose, I'm going to give you some white dried sage to burn his essence. And then as we go in, because he offered to go in, pick up a bright plant and carry that with you. And he says, here, I'm going to give you this cigar in a wrapper. It's just a present for that moose to give up his life. So we get there. And sure enough, Trisha's with the camera taking pictures of all of us down on the sandbar dragging this moose up. But before we did that, we honored this moose with, first of all, Paul with the corn pollen out of his bag, 4 compass points, thanking the moose for his life and his death and providing us, our family, with a protein and giving up his life to do that. I did that to the 4 compass points. And then we burned the sage, his essence right there. And then I put that brightly colored plant on it and broke it up in the cigar. And I put a handful of water in his mouth. And then we drug it up, and then they had to leave. And then Trish and I spent the next 4 hours dissecting the moose right there on the sandbar. And I had thought before I went, because you know what a jet sled is?
Yeah.
Okay, It's a plastic sled, 5 feet long, 3 feet wide, decks are a foot high. You can drag it across the ice with your stuff in it. Well, it's a boat. And so I thought, well, I had one in camp. I thought, well, I can put my tarp in it. I can put my carving tools and things and drag it across the moose flats. And if I happen to get a place where I can actually put the meat in there, I can drag it out instead of putting it on my back.
Yeah.
Well, this moose is right in next to the creek, and we're 400 yards from the truck. So after we processed it, still with skin on, I put it in meat bags to cool, and then I put the meat bags in contractor plastic bags and put those in the creek as a refrigerator. And then when it was all done, I floated each individual part all the way down to the truck. Never had to put that moose on my back.
That's awesome.
And we ended up with 350 pounds of great moose meat.
It's the best, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this moose was over 8 years old.
Yeah.
So a little chewy. So the sausage I gave to you
I'm excited.
is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we had a roast, which we slow cooked in a crock pot.
Yeah.
And you can marinate it a lot, and it can just make it more tasteful.
Yeah.
So spirit wise, so we're so lucky to live in Colorado and the Western states that have 10 big game species that we can go hunt. And it's just, it's a miracle what we're able to do. And so that's what keeps me going. It keeps me riding my bike and strong legs, strong lungs. And I tell people, you just got to pick your parents right.
Yeah.
Theoretically, I'll take him and her, and if you can see that.
Yeah.
But maybe I was blessed that way that my mom lived to be 95, and Dad was 6 foot and lean, and I don't know what his background was, but that's another story. But
there's rules there, right? I mean, around simply just careful with what you put in your mouth.
Really so.
And
really
it's, who was it? There was somebody I was listening to him talk, and he's going to write a a diet and fitness book, and it was just something like shut your mouth and get on the treadmill, you know.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple. Like the math equation there is pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
Eat a little less, move a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll last a little bit longer, hopefully, if you're lucky.
I think so, and I think I think physically, I've been going to the same gym for 23 years, but mostly in the winter, because in the summer I'm very busy doing other things.
Yep.
And if it wasn't for the new hip replacement, I'd be on my bike every other day around Fort Collins just to keep the legs and lungs going. And that's very important, especially from a solo hunter. And people say, you don't go with other people. I said, no, it stems back when I was a kid in Ohio. I'd get up in the morning in the summer, I'd sleep on the porch, and I could hear the waves on Lake Erie, and that would wake me up, and I could hear crows flying by, and I'm going to go up the beach and shoot a crow or shoot a carp. And that's how I started bow hunting, is shooting carp with a bow. And my buddy said, we'd like to go along. Well, be at my house at 5 a.m. Well, 5 would come, and they wouldn't show up. Or I'd go to their house at 7 o'clock, and they're still sleeping. Or maybe we would go look for ducks that were shot in the marsh, and we'd go on weekends when there was any hunting, and we'd take our dogs, and we'd go across the ice. Maybe we'd fall in up to our waist, and some of my friends, I want to go home and call, and I'd keep going.
Yeah.
And maybe that just developed in me to go solo hunting more, because, and I tell people, most of the people now in my life are younger and are working.
Yeah.
So they have they can go hunting on weekends, or maybe take 5 days off. And anybody older than me is past.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I've been to this gym for 23 years, and every year somebody doesn't show up anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be one of those. I told Tricia, 10 years ago, I wrote a life plan, and I signed it. Okay. So I was 75 years old. Now I'm 85. And I signed it that I'm going to live to be 150. I mean, realistically, probably not, but I'm working the plan. Okay.
You got to work the plan.
Working the plan. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just trying to be very careful on what I do and how I live and what I ingest, and just trying to keep strong. And if I want to keep fly fishing and bow shooting, I got to keep this arm flexible and
stay healthy.
Not pull anything there.
Yep.
I mean, we all did the same thing. We went to the gym and we're starting to curl 40, 50 pounders. I see guys in there doing that, and I go, it's all going to catch up with you in about 20 years. Yeah. So now I'm only at 20 pounds. If I do any curling, it's at 20. I do it on the machines. I don't do any free lifting.
Nothing crazy heavy.
And if I feel a little tense in my body, I go, okay, my body's telling me something. Right. Don't do it anymore. Stop.
Yeah.
Rest. Yeah. So,
right.
So, but just keeps me moving, keeps me motivated. And I really enjoy the outdoors. And of course, being member of the Colorado Bowhunters Association as a life member, and we used to be on the board of directors for 7 years. I was the division liaison for 6.
Yep.
Took it very seriously. I just found a magazine at home. The last article I wrote in the magazine, and how I had gone to over 100 Wildlife Commission meetings across the state, because I took it very serious, and I was retired, so I could do that.
Right.
And all the articles I wrote for the CBA magazine, and CBA is it's the eyes and ears and voice for bow hunters in Colorado.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have everybody join, but there's 54,000 people that come to Colorado to bow hunt elk, and half of them, or more than half, are residents.
Yeah.
Or non-residents, and
non-residents,
so it's like 51%. That's one reason why resident bow hunters now for elk have to draw.
Yeah.
Trying to reduce that number down so there's not so much crowding.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a great organization. And then with the Black Lab, Platte Valley Hunting and Retriever Club.
Yeah.
And I've always been able to raise my hand and say, I can do that. I'll volunteer.
Right.
I've got time.
Yeah.
So I've always liked to be engaged that way.
Yeah.
And
and it's a big deal. We have to kind of really continue to steward that for the people that are coming behind us, right? And that's a huge, I mean, what you've done is protected the space for me and Tyrel to get into it. And, we started 40 years after you.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's been protected. And so it's, it's critical that we do that. Absolutely. Right. And so needs to be a big piece of what all of us do is you get into it and you kind of get your feet underneath and you go, okay, now it's time to start protecting this and giving back to it. And
I think that's really important. And I think like Colorado Bowhunters is a statewide organization, although I'm a member of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, a member of Ducks Unlimited. I used to be a member of other ones, but
Yeah.
financially you can't keep joining everybody, but
Right.
so you pick out the couple that you really do.
Yeah.
So CBA, Elk Foundation, Ducks Unlimited, and then
Yep.
so
Yep.
and I think we need to give back. And some people are very busy with their families. I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people that have served on the board or CBA members that have got a wife and 5 kids,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
passionate about what they do
Yep.
in the outdoors, but they have limited time to do it. And I
Yep.
remember, I was that way years and years ago, but I couldn't give up the time. But as soon as I retired, I said, hey, I've got time. I can do this.
Yeah.
I'd be glad to help.
Absolutely.
And I had some talking and writing skills, so I was able to do
worked
that
out.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
It did very nicely. But,
Yeah.
but so it's great that you guys, because you've been hunters for a long time, I would expect.
Yeah. I mean, really 2012 for me. I mean, we
Him longer than me.
yeah. And we had
This
a
is my
similar
6th year.
Okay.
Yeah. But we
Okay.
grew up kind of southeastern Colorado on the river, kind of doing that whole go
On
out.
the Arkansas.
Yeah, on the Arkansas
Okay, yeah,
River. And,
yeah.
that was largely, I mean, Tyrel and I are 12 years apart. And so, where my grandfather lived, it was on the Arkansas River. He had a trout farm. And so that was a lot of my childhood was very similar, where you go out and just get a stick and put a hook. Luckily, on a trout farm, you could catch a fish at any second you wanted to, because anything shiny, those fish are going to eat. But we would just go down to the river. I mean, I would leave in the morning, same thing when we were down there, and you spend your whole day just plinking around,
Sure.
whether it was, chasing snakes, shooting a carp or stabbing a carp. Unfortunately, it sounds brutal, but sharpen a stick and try and, just that, what you naturally do as a boy. Not everybody, but it was my natural tendency to want to. I think it's funny. I saw my wife the other day. I started mowing lawns in 4th grade, 5th grade. And the two first things I bought was a bike and a bow.
Okay.
And that's still kind of what you see priority wise. You go to my garage, there's 4 bikes on the wall, because I love riding a bike. It's just so much fun. And I just love shooting a bow. It's
not
a
only
blast.
is biking and running, but it brings back the youth that we've are not reaching back for, but it gives you that feeling of youth when you're riding a bike and running or jogging like the kids did back in the day. Okay. Yeah. And so I'm still kind of a kid at heart.
Yep.
I love to ride the bike. I love the mechanics of it. I love what it does to my legs and lungs. And then you can I don't wear a headset and I'm not listening to music. I want to observe what's going on around me, and I want to hear what things
hear the
going
gravel
on.
under the tire.
Unfortunately, I see people with the little ear things. What are those called?
Yeah, the earbuds.
Earbuds.
Yep.
Well, here's what happened years ago when they came out with them. Most of them are black.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd go to the gym and I say hi to people in the morning, and they go, oh, walking down the street, I say hello, and people are shocked.
Yeah.
And so, and if somebody like a guy would walk in with a hoodie on and he had his earbuds in it, which I didn't know, I said hello, and he'd walk right on by me like
I guys grumpy this morning.
Oh yeah, and no response whatsoever until I found out there were earbuds.
Yeah.
Well, then there's people that are walking up and down the street with earbuds on, and then there's people riding their bikes with earbuds on, and they're not aware of what's going on around them. I had some kid come right through the stoplight in front of me, my car, because I had the right of way with earbuds on, and he was just sailing right on by. He didn't stop at the stoplight. He just he was wondering he didn't get killed.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that technology has changed, and but I like to observe what's around me. So
what did it look like? I'm just imagining. I keep kind of bouncing back to this in my head. This vision of this kind of nostalgic vision, I guess, of like, I don't know what you said. 1988 was your first year to come out and hunt an elk in Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, what did that adventure look like? Because everything has changed since 1988 around just the gear. I mean, I'm imagining just an old square body truck, and you know.
Well, Tricia and I had some friends that lived in where they make sheeting, not over near Glenwood Springs anyway. And we had some friends that lived there, and so I stayed with them. And then Michael and his friend took us to the trailhead, and then Tricia and I hiked up when I actually went hunting.
And what kind of gear? What kind of gear were we wearing?
Well, I had some. Well, I think I had some tree camo.
Yeah.
Yeah, some type of tree camo on, and some camo, but it was probably cotton at the time.
Yeah.
And this was in 88 and 89. And, but the way I found out about these spots was that Onyx wasn't around.
Of course not. No.
Google Earth wasn't around. And so topographic maps were. And since I had some courses in college in topographic reading, I knew how to look at topographic maps. And I called a guy named Larry Jones, and he was the regional manager for the Glenwood Springs area with the WOW, and I called him up. And so we kind of talked back and forth, and he tried to pinpoint some areas. And I said, I'd really like to hunt the flat tops. And he says, Paul, do you realize that you can't take any mechanical means up there? You can't even have a one-wheel cart. You can't take a bicycle. You got to go by foot or hoof.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm going to recommend some other area nearby. And so the first year I missed a couple elk. And I remember the first time I was back there solo, and I did a bugle, and I heard back, and I went, that's got to be a hunter. But sure enough, it was an elk. And the same thing happened to me in North Carolina when I shot my very first turkey. I had a box call, and I went, got, and over the ridge, that's got to be a hunter. And here comes a tom. So, but then that's the experience you gain.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the experience you gain. And so, and then the second year, Tricia and I hiked up 6 miles of the White River because I was really enthused about. And I had a 2-man tent, and we had freeze-dried food, and we actually went brook trout fishing in the creek and had some trout. And I went up in the hills and chased elk around. The last day, I'm in camp, and we had to just says, well, we're a day late. We got to get out of here, get home. And I had to get back to work and in Ohio. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to hike across the creek and go up that hillside because the elk had been feeding upstream about a mile in this big meadow, and then they'd head up in the hills to their bedding area. So when I left camp and I crossed the creek, I had plastic bags that I used as waders to get across the creek, and I'd leave the plastic bags on the other side.
Yeah.
I hadn't gone up the creek quarter of a mile, and I was coming through some not blowdowns, but pine thickets with my back pushing through, and I turned around, and there was a 4-point bull and 2 cows going up the hill right in front of me at 30 yards. And they probably thought I was just another elk following them. And so I drew back and shot, and I was aiming for, he was kind of quartering away from me, and I shot, and I hit him right in the femoral artery in his back leg.
Oh, wow.
and it was just like shooting him in the heart.
Yeah.
I mean, blood sprayed all over the place, and I found him 50 yards away dead. And my first elk, a 4x4, and the largest branched antler. So Tricia hikes all the way back to the truck, 6 miles, goes to Budge's Outdoor Resort. I had made arrangements with an outfitter to bring horses up. And so she shows up a couple hours later. I had already crossed the elk and had him back at camp, and I built a little bridge across the creek and put the elk meat and bags on it as a refrigerator cooler. And he brought up, they saw three riding horses and 2 mules, and we got the meat back, put it on dry ice, and took it home. That charge back then was over $250 for all that.
Yeah.
Okay, the elk that I got out this year, 3 years ago with the same packer, was $600.
Yeah.
But this year, the owner of the company, who I had met previous to that, had lunch with him, said, yeah, we're going to need 4 horses. And I just figured it was going to be $600 plus $50 tip. He comes up, really nice guy, Alan, comes up, meets me at the trailhead. We come up and get the meat. And then when we get down at 4:00, he says, I'll send you an invoice, Paul. I said, okay. A week later, I get an invoice for $350, not $600. I went out and I emailed him back. I said, Alan, you made a mistake. He says, oh, no. He says, Paul, I had such a good time with you, and I was quote unquote more than happy to help you.
Yeah.
And I went, wow. So I said, I'm going to send you an extra $100 because I didn't pay for my breakfast that morning.
Yeah.
And then give the rest as a tip to your staff. And so, you just meet some great people out there, and I was just blessed with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll ever hunt the flat tops. It usually takes 1 point.
Yeah.
And so I won't hunt it there next year and maybe the following year. But then realistically, here I am. I'll be 86.
Yeah.
Next hunting season. Then I'll be 87. And and then 88. I just take 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
I go to the gym, I work out, I check my body. I said, okay, is everything okay? Is it working? Can I go this year?
Yeah.
And if my body says yeah, then I go for it.
Yeah.
But I don't, I went goat hunting up on the Collegiate Peaks, and I had to climb up. It took me 3.5 hours, and you kept hitting these false summits.
False summits, yeah.
And I had to carry water up there. I had to carry a jug of water, a gallon of water up there, and shot the goat the first day I was there. I had to pour that water out.
Just you had too much weight.
Because I didn't need it.
Yeah.
And but back then I could do that. But
Yeah.
I've always tried to keep physically strong, and I think a lot of people have goals and objectives in their lives, and some of them may be in the hunting community, and some may be in the technology community.
Sure.
I want to be a computer whiz. I want to be this or that. I want to put together supercars.
Sure.
So there's all sorts of aspects, and actually, there's only nationwide. We've got 3.5 million people, and only less than 5% of us are actually hunters.
Yeah.
In Colorado, we're probably about that same, about 5%.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yep.
So that means there's 95% of people that don't hunt. The fortunate thing is, when the Division of Wildlife did a study of non-hunters, not anti-hunters, non-hunters, most of them agreed that if we do fair chase and utilize the animal, they're okay with hunting as they know it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're always going to have that small portion of anti-hunters that are very vocal, and they can rally other people for their cause, and they can gravitate a lot of money into Colorado or for their purpose. They can spread the news, and that has accelerated with social media today.
Yeah. And they always look at the worst of it, right? They don't look at those of us that are doing it well. They look at the people that do. It's just the big horn pictures, and they go, well, this is what they're there for. They're only there for the antlers.
That unfortunately, that's too bad.
It is too bad.
I just read an article about the elephants in Africa, 2 different countries there, and one stopped hunting elephants years ago, and there's this many elephants.
Yes.
Less than what there used to be.
Yeah.
And over here, they allowed hunting and the management and the control of poaching, and there's more elephants.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They've got more than they actually really can handle, right? A friend of ours, Robbie Kroger, who's a big piece of his nonprofit's called Blood Origins, and he put a post on Instagram or Facebook, and he basically said, if you want an elephant, we'll send you an elephant. We've got more than we can handle. He goes, if you got a nice big yard and you want to help protect an elephant, we'll send you one. We've got a lot of elephants over here where they're hunting it, because
that's true.
And it's such an interesting, I had this conversation with a friend that she's very anti, especially the African hunting. And I get the sentiment. I can see why, because from the outside looking in, you go, this doesn't make any sense, but it's a really interesting perspective to look at that and say, okay, but where we do hunt them and we protect them, and we have a plan for conservation in place, they're thriving. And it is an interesting thing to get your head around, this idea that by hunting them, we are saving them. But you see it in the Western model of conservation, where you see now you've got turkeys in pretty much every state. You've got whitetail, and you look at whitetail, mule deer, elk, all the big game that we hunt, and just the population has boomed in the last 50 years.
No doubt about it.
And I don't have the science background and the statistics to say specifically those points, but it's not hard to find. If you look, it's there. It's obvious that we've done a great job.
I believe that is true. And working with the Parks and Wildlife for all those years, all those staff members are very dedicated to conserving and to protecting wildlife, and then creating the right seasons. So everybody in Colorado, which technically all wildlife in Colorado belong to all the citizens, whether they're hunters or non-hunters, to enjoy.
Right.
But it's up to the hunters to manage the wildlife through legal means, utilize that wonderful meat, and keep the herd at a controllable level, so they'll all be healthy in the long run.
And you've never heard, like we had that winter kill 2 winters ago.
Yes.
And just how many hunters were very much willing to say, no, we need to stay out of that area for a little bit. And I don't think people realize how good that hunting community is about protecting those animals, and go, well, they need a break.
Sure.
Let's protect them. Let's stay out. Let's give them some room to come back and be healthy again. And so I mean, hunters on their own accord have done a good job of saying, no, let's
That is
stay
true.
out of those areas.
Well, the unfortunate thing is we're going to have certain types of diseases that get into the herds. Now we have chronic wasting disease, which is rampant around Colorado and other states where it affects the neurons of the brain system, and those deer or elk and even some moose that will die from that.
Mhm.
And that is, for an example, out where I hunt on the South Platte River and in Nebraska, that rate of chronic wasting disease is 25%. So one out of every 4 animals that are actually turned in
Yeah.
have chronic wasting disease.
Yeah.
And that's spreading around.
Yeah.
And then there's an EHD, which is a little disease passed on by the little midge. And that, if it bites, that the contaminated midge bites the right animal as they're drinking over a dried up water hole or a muddy water hole, that animal is doomed to die within a very short time. Yeah. So they got all these little things going on.
Yeah.
And, but it's about science. It's about population growth, not only in wildlife, but the human population growth. You know?
Yep.
When I was born in 1940, there was 1.1 million people in Colorado. When Tricia and I moved here in 91, there was 3.2.
Yeah.
Now we're pushing 6 million.
We are. Yep.
And even the Division of Wildlife, now Parks and Wildlife, have to deal with all that.
Yeah.
They have to accommodate
Yep.
all the people that want to be in the outdoors, whether they're hunters or just recreationalists or somebody who wants to drive around, look at the colors.
Yeah.
And then the state parks are getting slammed by people.
Oh.
Used to be weekends, and now it's on and on and on.
All day long.
And look at this, how many people are drowning in some of these lakes because they're not really outdoor people. They're not being careful. They're not wearing life preservers, or their kids aren't in it. They go out in those reservoir and the winds come up and they tip over. And I think 20 people drowned last year. They're just not aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
The wildlife community is, and Division of Wildlife are just great people. I've met the new director, Davis, and of course he has to put up with the wolf reintroduction, the forced reintroduction.
Yep.
I was actually called by a friend of mine that was heading up the Stop the Wolf organization, and he asked me to be the Eastern coordinator for that. And that was right during the pandemic. So I did 2 seminars in Fort Collins, one before the Muzzleloading Association and 2 others in civic organizations, just to explain what was going on and why it was a bad idea to force wolves on Colorado.
Yeah.
And then I even went to the Larimer County Commissioners. And my background is regional planning. I only had 3 or 5 minutes to present this, so I made up notebooks for them.
Mhm.
And at that time, of the 62 counties in Colorado, 43 of them already had signed resolutions to not accept forced reintroduction of wolves to Colorado. Larimer County was not one of those. And I tried to convince them that they could be that. They could sign that off, and they could help the Division of Wildlife, because the Division of Wildlife comes in and takes care of any animal issues that Larimer County might have.
Yeah.
So at least support them and support the other counties. They said, we don't want to get involved politically. So there were only 11 counties in Colorado that voted more yeses than nos. We lost by less than 2%. But
Really?
But what was interesting is that of the $101.5 million that was raised to put this on the petition, 98% of that money came from outside of Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting agenda there, and it's a hard argument, because I think that, and I'd love to hear more about it from you, as far as, what's bad and what's good about it, because I think that, when somebody says, well, there used to be wolves here, we brought back the moose, we brought back the elk, and why not bring back wolves? And I hear them and I say, that doesn't sound like a horrible idea, except for I think the wolf we brought back was not the native wolf that we had in Colorado to start with, right?
And that is true. And of course, I won't say it's a weak argument, but it is sort of a weak argument, because whether it's a 150-pound wolf or a 75-pound wolf down south in Mexico, it's still a wolf. It might not be as big as what used to be here.
Yeah.
I think this is it in the late 1990s, early 2000s, when that one wolf wandered in from Yellowstone with a collar around her neck, and she got killed on the interstate over near Glenwood Springs. I think this was in 2001. Parks and Wildlife said, and with governor's blessing at the same time, said we need to have a plan even though the wolves are protected federally and statewide,
hmm
we need to have a plan when these wolves start migrating into Colorado. So they got together a board of 20 people, pro, con, in the middle,
Sure.
and they came up with a plan of what to do when a wolf or set comes into Colorado. Now they're protected. We'll let the wolves wander in naturally.
Yeah.
We'll let them set up shop. We'll let them have a pack or two. If they get in trouble, one wolf or two wolves, we'll use our lethal methods to control that,
Right.
take them somewhere.
hmm
If they get in real bad trouble, then we'll have to put them down. And that was basically the plan, and everybody kind of agreed upon that.
Yeah.
And that was a resolution that the county commission or the Parks and Wildlife Commission signed off on.
Right. And we already had quite a few native wolves before we did the reintroduction, didn't we? We had
Not a whole lot.
not a lot, but
So-
there were wolves here already. That's what I think people don't understand. Is
there
there's
was always
probably-
talk about wolves in Colorado,
Yeah.
and but it wasn't until a few wolves wandered into northern Colorado from Wyoming,
Yeah.
up into the Walden area, which I'm very familiar with because I do a lot of activities up there.
Yeah.
But and they signed off on it about naturally migrating in.
Mhm.
Well, the pro-wolfers said, of course, the federal government introduced wolves in 1993 or 4 into Wyoming, Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And that was mandated under the Endangered Species Act. We're going to bring them in, and some wolves were already in northern Montana, but we're going to bring in some wolves from Canada to occupy Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho. And so they did that in the late. And so one of those wolves, or maybe more, one or two, wandered in Colorado. So the division did the resolution. The pro-wolfers then, 25 years later, said, quote unquote, we've been waiting 25 years for the Yellowstone wolves to migrate into Colorado and set up shop and develop enough packs and breeding pairs. We've waited long enough. We're going to put it on a ballot initiative. And there's 22 states in the United States that allow that ballot initiative to be something like that,
Right.
that affects wildlife to be done. So they did that, and we lost by less than 2%. If it had gone the other way around, when they said in the ballot initiative or in all the information, it's only going to cost $800,000 a year. What's already cost over $3.5 million
Yeah.
the first couple of years of
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
and so the vision, I went to all the meetings when they
Yep.
brought all those experts down from the 3 states and then our local experts, and we sat around. I was invited. I signed up to go to the meetings. I was very interested in that. And I reported back to the Colorado Bowhunters. And so they had a lot of information from the north of how to do it and what not to do and how to go about doing this.
Yeah.
I think Colorado decided, we can get wolves from Montana, Idaho, or Wyoming because they got plenty of wolves. So even though the government up there said you're going to have at least 300 wolves per state. Well, the pro-wolfers kept taking that to the courts, and the courts favored the pro-wolfers side of it. And so now there's close to 2,000 wolves in those 3 states, but they do allow a hunting season in those 3 states.
Yeah.
Now, the Idaho and Montana, it's during elk season.
Yep.
Wyoming, it's statewide. I think you might need a permit now, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
And you can hunt them year round.
Yeah.
So, and that was finally approved by the federal government. Colorado, on the other hand, said, well, we think we can probably get wolves. The governors of those 3 states says, no, we're not going to give you any wolves. We're working with the feds. We don't want to jeopardize our plan. So now they had to start looking, where are we going to get these wolves? So they went to the Nez Perce Reservation in Oregon. And the Nez Perce and some Indian tribes' philosophy, like the white bear or the white buffalo, they see that as a spiritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the wolf in a different way. It's not a predator that's going to ruin our tribal grounds. It's more of a spiritual thing. Some do and some don't. So the Nez Perce kind of honored that wolf on the land, and so they said, we'll give you a certain amount of wolves, and they did that.
Mhm.
The following year, the Northern Ute tribe in Colorado had been working with the feds in the states, and evidently there was not a total agreement on how the wolves are going to be introduced around the reservation. and maybe not clear transparency, and maybe even the division was having a hard time trying to figure out how they're going to do this. I think the Northern Utes contacted the Nez Perce up there and said, here's the issues we're going through. We're recommending you don't get any more wolves. So they said, we're not going to give Colorado any more wolves for the next year. So then they went up to British Columbia. Now, the British Columbia wolves is the largest wolf in North America. It averages between 70 and 150 pounds, I read. And they do have a culling system up there to protect their reindeer herds. Now, the lessening of the reindeer herds all through that northern, from Newfoundland to the west.
Right.
Climate change has caused a lot of that for the caribou herds to be declining.
Right.
And who knows, others, the change of food patterns and migration.
Right.
And then there's been a lot of recreation in British Columbia. There's been a lot of extraction of minerals. So a lot of this combines with different migration patterns and maybe less, but they can look at the wolf and say, hey, at least we can control the wolf population. So we're more than glad to give Colorado a dozen wolves, which they did. And we'll try to pick them out that they're not in an area where they have learned how to go chase cattle. Well, that sort of did and didn't happen. All right. So they brought those wolves back. So now there's the next thing I heard is the next bunch of wolves they're going to get is from Alaska. So now if somebody is challenging where they're getting their wolves, because under the initial agreement it stated, and it's kind of fuzzy, it says the wolves that Colorado will transplant into Colorado will be basically from North America. That's not right. From the lower 49 states, 50 states. Not from Alaska, not from British Columbia.
Not from Alaska.
But then someone says, well, there's a one word in there saying, I don't know if I can get the right word, preferred. We prefer to get them from here, but that doesn't mean that we won't get them from somewhere else. So that's, and one of our congressmen has brought that up.
Yeah.
So they're trying to stop the reintroduction and let them reevaluate how they're going to do this.
Right.
And of course, then we've got issues with the ranchers.
Yes.
Having some issues, and some ranchers will never be affected. Some ranchers will be more affected than others. Right. And it's just ranchers have a harder time, making a living anyway. So, and that's a Western lifestyle they've accepted over the years.
Yeah.
So the wolf coming into Colorado has changed a lot of that. And here's what's interesting, and I'll try to be brief. I went to the last meeting when the Division of Wildlife Commission was going to approve the plan. There were 4 steps to the plan. The first step is doing the study, doing a plan, initiating the plan. The last step was to create a hunting season if the wolves got to be a certain population. That's the issue. There is no population limit or control on wolves in Colorado at this time.
Right.
And the analogy I use, if it would work this way, in the UP of Michigan, where I went to college, and also in the Air Force, back in the early 70s, there were no wolves in the UP. Then they brought in 12, and they just disappeared. So the UP is 1/3 the size of Western Colorado.
Right.
It now has 600 wolves. In the UP of Michigan, there's no hunting. So they survive on deer and moose and beavers and other small game and maybe some domestic animals. So if the UP of Michigan is 1/3 the size of Western Colorado and can support 600 wolves, Western Colorado could certainly support 1,800 wolves.
Yeah.
With all the livestock and with all the wildlife. There's no limit at this point in time. Now, will there ever be? Okay. So what will happen is that once the wolves get to be 200, they'll go from endangered to threatened. And then they'll see where that all goes.
Yeah.
So
there'll be someday there's going to be more than likely a hunting. Well, you can't assume that.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think the pro-wolfers will ever allow hunting.
Yeah. And the same with like grizzly bears, like in like Wyoming and Montana there. I mean, I had a friend that was on an elk hunt 3 weeks ago, I think, in Montana, 2 weeks ago. No, Wyoming. I think he saw 9 brown bears in a 3-day hunt. Yes. And he's going, when are they going to open up a season? Because they're not afraid of anything up there.
They don't seem to be.
They're not,
Yeah,
and
they
it's just it's an interesting thing. So it's interesting to see. To add a season is it's more likely they'll take away seasons than they'll add something.
So
to this
here's a question for both of you.
Yeah.
So during your podcast, you're reaching out to sportsmen, sportswomen, giving them an idea through me and yourself how to develop a better feeling for the outdoors, how to be better in the outdoors. Here's some methods and techniques and suggestions and equipment-wise and backpacking-wise and how to survive in the outdoors and how to be prepared, like you're a Boy Scout, always be prepared, for everything.
Yep.
All right. And so it's an interesting concept. I think a lot of podcasts that I've been on are sort of like that. Do you have any way of tracing your listeners? And are you expecting any can you get any feedback?
I think that guys or gals can reach back out via the social media side.
Okay.
And say, hey, I've got a question or tell me more about this. Or I get a lot of direct messaging of,
mostly friends and family at this point.
Yeah.
Listen.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. A small snippet of the hunting and kind of outdoor fishing. Whatever community there. Yeah.
Well, I think we're all passionate about what we do.
Right.
And I just hope to do it for more often. And I'm just trying to be very careful on what I do in life and always thinking about the outdoors. And it's nice being retired because I have time.
You have lots of time. Yeah.
And I've got some good friends that are very gracious and allowing me to hunt here and there. And of course, I like I said, I'm basically a solo hunter, and I most of the animal I've never used a guide except for my mountain lion hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So all 10 species all 9 species that I've taken, only the mountain lion is one that I've used a guide, and I've used dogs, and it was legal. And we treated the cat in January. It was 10 below zero, and shot him with an arrow in the heart, and he was dead before he hit the ground. And we ate the meat. Yeah, you can eat mountain lion meat.
Yeah, for sure.
You can eat. I've even had people say, "You can eat moose meat." I mean, there's a lot of people that are just so disconnected with the outdoors. Yeah, really. So they see it. They see the leaves on the trees. Maybe they don't even know why that leaf has changed colors. Right, from all green to all bright.
All these bright colors we have now. Yeah.
Maybe they don't know that. They're not in touch with what's going on.
Right.
They don't know where they're. You ask a kid maybe in the city, where'd you get that hamburger? Oh, went to McDonald's.
Yes.
We went to King Super, and there's no blood or gore on it.
No.
And
no.
I don't mind reaching into the bowels of an animal and pulling it all out and taking his heart out and and eating it.
We had a fun experience for his son's birthday. Was on Friday of this last week, and I had just helped somebody harvest 2 cow elk right here on the field next door to me here.
Okay.
And
wait a minute, you harvested 2 cow elk
just right here on the field. Yeah.
All right.
And they weren't going to take the liver or the hearts, and so I saw the gut pile. I was like, if you're not taking those, I'd like to take them. So I took the livers and I took the heart, and they were still in the cooler. I literally just cut them up, changed clothes, put ice on them, and they're in my truck. And so we're having a party at his house.
Heck yes.
And we went and got a heart out of the cooler, and all the families in the house, and we're cutting this big old cow. It was a big heart.
Yes.
And so we chopped the heart up and put it on his little his black top and had heart tacos. And I don't know, are you still eating on it?
Yeah, we had it yesterday.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's really good heart. And it was so funny because it's just, literally having the heart there in the kitchen, having the kids see us, cut a heart up and it was, I think, had they not seen the heart and we had just put a bowl of meat on the counter, they would have eaten it and not thought anything about it.
Right.
But it was just interesting to see, like, that thing was alive like 2 hours ago. It was literally, the heart was still warm when we were cutting it up.
Sure.
It hadn't cooled off all the way yet.
It was fun to see the different reactions throughout the house too, because we had a lot of family, which wasn't too different but like friends, neighbors were over there. Sure. Just a little kid party. So it was good to see kind of the reactions. And
well, I'm grateful that on TV now, because I watch some sportsman shows.
Yeah.
I don't watch the ones anymore that are hunting deer over bait. Back in the day, people that did hunting videos, especially for whitetails, were hunting on public land, maybe a little bit of private. They were in a tree stand. Now they have these enclosed box blinds. They got heaters inside. They got
TVs and heaters, and
it's
crazy.
Yeah, and they got food plots and they got piles of corn. And then that's what has changed a lot. We talk about changes. When I started deer hunting, you just went around Farmer Joe's cornfield.
Mm-hmm.
People weren't expressly putting a food plot and then analyzing what to put in there for a certain time of the year to feed the deer. And then you didn't have manufacturers making food plot foods.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there wasn't blogs on that how to manage those things, and then the equipment to do.
There's entire consultants now. I mean, there's guys that's their consulting business. They go out and they help you cut lanes, plant the right, plant the right food, and feeding lanes and places for them to bed and protection. It's
and
just
then
crazy.
even the trail cameras.
Yeah.
Now I have two, and somebody suggests it's like opening a Christmas package. Every time you open up your trail camera, you see something there. And when I was up there where I elk hunted, I put a trail camera up there in early August. And 2 days later, I had two bears walk right by out in the meadow, a big sow and a boar. And then I think a couple of days later, I had one walk right by the camera. And then I had that was like 500 yards from camp. And I had other bear encounters up there. Actually, coming up the last day when I was going to go up to hunt, I saw some movement in the creek bottom. The tag willows were like 8 feet tall, and I saw them swaying. I thought it must be a deer down there. Turned out to be a bear eating roots or whatever.
Yeah.
I threw a rock in there, and out it went. And then so there's bears up there.
Yeah.
The way I got my bear for the big 8 is I called in with a predator call.
Yeah.
And it came in and looking for me for lunch, and I shot it at 20 yards with a bow, and that's how I got it. And I even called a mountain lion in once, but he saw my drawing my bow and took off. So that was kind of thrilling. But
what's the, like kind of speaking of things that have changed, like gear wise, I'm sure it's probably tough for you to think through, but what's the right question here? Just gear has changed so much. What are a couple of things that are just really impactful that gear that has come out since you started really, let's say, Western elk hunting in 1988?
mm-hmm.
What are a couple of things that you feel like have potentially changed the way we approach hunting outside of, say, the phone and the technology and Onyx and all those things, but like a couple of pieces of gear that you've latched onto, you go, this thing came out and I've never not had it with me?
So to communicate with my wife, for an example, in technology, I have a big pause here. Sorry.
It's good.
You're
good. Like a Garmin InReach.
Yeah, but it's not an InReach. It's one of the original. It's a spot messenger.
Yep.
Now, so before I would say, Tricia, here's a topographic map, and I'm drawing a circle where I camp, and I'll be hunting within this 3 miles. Well, if I had an accident within 3 miles, and I said, if I'm a day late, that means I've probably got an animal down and I'm packing it out. So don't get worried if I'm a day late, but I have no way of communicating with her one-on-one. So I bought the spot messenger. It allows me to let her know I'm okay morning and evening.
Yeah.
Just by pushing a button.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a pre-recorded, prescribed messaging in there. Message says, animal down, be home shortly. So she knows I'm standing over an animal.
Yeah.
So when I go elk hunting up in the flat tops and I'm up there and I don't have any communications with a cell phone or a satellite phone, or I can't text her from up there, I send her that message 3 different times. She knows I'm standing over an animal, and that's when she calls up the packer and says, Paul will be down in the morning. That's how I communicate that way.
Yeah.
So that has changed, but that's gives me and Tricia some solace about everything is okay.
Yeah.
And what that does, it prints her on the computer a Google map with longitude and latitude and pinpoints exactly where I'm at.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a good thing.
That's huge.
That's a good thing.
Yep.
I think
if she feels good, she's gonna let you go hunting more, right?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah.
Permission.
And I just have to make sure I'm not in a canopy where I can't get a satellite.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But and equipment has changed, no doubt about it. I think the recurve bow. I went from an instinctive shooter and shooting okay, and I put a single pin on my recurve bow because I have a single pin on my compound bow. So I'm used to shooting a single pin. And I used to teach a course in becoming a bow hunter program for the Colorado bow hunters. It's all about shot placement, effective range. How good are you at certain ranges? And so my range, even with a single pin and a 55-pound bow, is 25 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm like, with even all the elk, I've never killed one over 32 yards yet. So I like to be up close and personal with the animal. I like to see snot dripping out their nose and their eyes red, and count every hair on their body, as I did this elk I killed this year.
Yeah.
How close was he? I could count every hair on his body close. That's how close he was right there.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, senior moment.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but just the single pin, the recurve.
Oh,
you
yeah,
said
the single
they've
pin.
changed
So that-
quite a bit.
Yes, thank you.
Has the recurve itself changed as well?
Yeah, I think the materials in the recurves. I've got people that I know, a couple of bow hunters that have self bows. They make them out of Osage orange and everything.
Yeah.
And they've killed the Colorado bow 8 twice.
Yeah.
Joe probably has done that.
Yeah.
He's a big, strong guy. I don't know what he pulls. He must be pulling
All of it, all the weight. He's a scary individual.
I know,
that guy.
big 67 pound. His dad measured my first Pope and Young deer here in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whitetail I had killed. And they used to live over in LaPorte at the time. Now he's in Wisconsin. And Joe helped his dad get a cow moose this year.
Oh, did he really?
Over near, yeah. So
that's kind of a like a sleeper tag. I have decided, because I didn't start, I was nervous I would never draw a bull moose tag.
Okay.
And so once I get my points up to 4 or 5, then I put in for a cow moose.
Sure.
And so I shot a cow 3 years ago.
Okay.
And we just recently finished her up.
Mm-hmm.
But what just the most wonderful meat. And so for me, I kind of decided this is maybe contrary to a lot of people, but I would rather have that moose meat every, let's say, 5 years on average in Colorado than I would shoot the big bull moose in Colorado.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I know that's probably crazy. Some people think it's crazy, but my primary objective is to feed my family with this meat. And so that's what I've chosen to do, is say I with certainty will never shoot a Colorado bull moose.
Sure.
I can go to Alaska. I can go other places around the country and shoot that bull if I want to, and I will. I go to Alaska next year to do that. But
okay.
Two
of my friends, 3 friends just came back from Alaska. One has gone up there many times.
Yeah.
And his friend who passed away, terrible accident. Anyway,
yeah,
I left him his cabin and his Argo.
Oh yeah.
And then he has friends that help him. So
that's
he goes
kind of
up.
The way to get around.
He shot a 71-inch bull up there.
Goodness gracious.
And then 2 of my friends, actually Matt, who has the does the Euromounts out of LaPorte, did my moose for me, and then just did my elk for me for free. He says, Paul, I'm just honored to do yours for you. I mean, I felt
that's awesome.
I mean, I said, here's $100. Do your kids have any chicken eggs left?
Yeah. He
says, no, Paul, I'm not taking any of your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a very generous guy.
Yeah.
Very generous guy.
Yeah.
But he and his buddy came back, and they both the cost of doing that anymore.
It's insane.
Just if you have a transporter, that's going to cost you $15,000-$20,000 just to transport you in.
Yeah.
And then getting there, but
Yeah. And it's something I had to do over a 5-6 year period where I put some money down, and then just within the family budget saying, okay, we're going to put some money aside every year to be able to do that and not have it hurt so bad. But
and they went rifle hunting, and they both got moose.
Yeah. I'll take my bow and a rifle, because a friend I'm going with on a lot of moose. He goes, you're going to want your rifle, because if you see that big bull and he's across the drainage, you can't get to him.
Well, in the story I wrote for the CBA magazine, I wanted to take my recurve.
Yeah.
But then I had doubts.
For sure.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to pack the compound along.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, no. It's like taking a gun to a knife fight. So I said the compound stayed at home.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I did, because
you're successful.
Moose are different.
They are.
They're not like an elk or deer that see you and they're gone. Maybe if they smell you, but maybe even up in Alaska and Newfoundland, the elk or the moose, especially during that rut period. Now, the cows are pretty on top of stuff.
Yeah.
They got calves with them, and they're looking around, and they're looking for danger. The moose got their brains in their pants.
Yeah.
It's sort of from the beginning to the end. And so they're callable, and I did a lot of searching on videos from Newfoundland to Alaska to the northern states here. And most of those moose are shot under 20 yards with a bow.
Yeah.
And some as close as 4 yards. And I shot mine at 18 yards. And when they see you, they kind of, oh, who's that
What's this
dude?
guy doing?
Who's that dude over there?
Yeah.
And when I was scouting them up the Michigan River over near Gould, there was moose walking right through people's, right within 100 feet or 200 yards of their campers.
Yeah.
Just walking through the meadows like, hey, I'm bigger than you.
Hey,
and I
we're
don't
bigger
have
than
any
you.
issues, and
Yeah.
there's no natural predators.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I knew I could probably do it with a recurve, and so I'm glad I did on the 4th day. So yeah, but yeah, I'll never moose hunt again. But that's and I wanted to get a bull. I just didn't want to get a cow.
And I agree. I think that had I, I think I look at the guys that put in for 25, 30 years, and I was doing the math, and I probably could have made it, I could have made it happen when I was in my 70s, just based on the math. But honestly, the meat is so darn good. I couldn't help myself. Okay. I just thought, man, I love feeding my kids this meat, and so, Paul, you've been talking to us for a long time, and so we'll wrap it up pretty soon. But I think something that I wanted to hear from you with all the videos and all the information that's out there, and those young kids coming in, what's something that you think that is special to hunting or unique to what you've learned that they aren't going to find on a video, they're not going to find in the book, they're not going to find in the magazine, just that nugget that, as we're sitting here, I'm selfishly just sitting here, just listening. Sure. So I don't know what everybody else is getting from the podcast, but maybe it's more about me and Tyrel just getting to sit with you, which is such a gift. But I mean, what's something that they're not going to get off those videos?
I think the nugget here is when I go hunting an animal, I look up the profile of that animal. What's this animal all about? What's this bighorn sheep doing when I'm hunting it? What's its lifestyle? What is its food? Where does it occupy its space, whether it's in Colorado or elsewhere? And I do that for every animal I hunt because I want to understand what that animal is doing, whether it's pre-rut, during the rut, or post-rut. What is it feeding on? Where is it hiding? What is its lifestyle? And so understanding that makes looking for that animal a lot easier. So you could do those studies and through books and through videos, and you can do that. But then you have to put boots on the ground, and you have to go searching for that what you've absorbed. Look for water sources. Look for the right vegetation. Look for animal signs. That's boots on the ground. You got to get out there and look for that type of stuff. You just can't. Unfortunately, there are some people that develop scouting reports and sell them to people, saying, "Oh, here's where to go and here's what to go." And I guess that's one reason why I've never had a guide except the mountain lion. Right. I feel accomplished to do my own research, and so finding out what that animal's all about and going out and putting boots on the ground and start looking and realize the habitat that animal is living in. And there's a lot of information out there to find that doing it. So I think that's why I've been successful.
Right.
And then I think the other reason I've been successful is that if you watch enough videos, most of the hunters have a bugle. Okay.
Yeah.
I did that when I was younger. I was racing all over the country. Not really, but in some of the areas I was hunting, hiking, and all day long and on and on. And I was somewhat successful, but not like I have been in the last 5 or 6 years, where I found a couple places that decoy the elk in like a wallow or a wet spot. And I know they're going to come for drinking. And I've killed 3 bulls over this same wallow, plus 2 bulls over this other wet meadow, and then a cow just pretty adjacent to that. And I only hunt a couple hours in the morning, and at 9 o'clock, when I know that wind's going to switch, I get out of that my little handmade blind, or maybe even a tree stand I had there, and go back to camp and just hang out for 5 hours. And then in the evening, I go to this other place. I never hunt it during the day, mid-afternoon or morning, because the wind is wrong and I don't want to bump any elk going in. So you just develop those techniques. And then I'm a solo hunter, so I don't have to rely on anybody else except my own skills.
Yeah.
And so I think just understanding the animal they're hunting, whether it's a white-tailed deer or a duck or a moose or pronghorn, just understanding them and going out and observing them, even out of season, going out and observing the animals and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And take a camera along. I have a camera and a little fanny pack right here, and it slowed me down over the years. Because since I write some stories, I like to have some pictures to
Hmm.
occupy that space in the story. So I might find an interesting bug on the trail, or maybe I'll take a picture of a broken off arrow with blood on it, or maybe I'll see a hide and horns up through the timber I can take a picture of, and it documents my hunt from
Yeah.
hiking up the mountain to my camp setting up to where I'm going all along. So documenting the timeline, and I'm able to write a story following that timeline. And I like to write in a diary too. So I think hunting you can be very lucky, but if you want to be consistent, you have to be observant of what's going on in the animal world and finding out what those animals are about. You can always be lucky, and I guess we all like to be lucky once in a while.
Sure.
But to be consistently
Yeah.
good.
But I think that slowing down is something that I think we've all learned as we got into it, maybe 10, 12 years ago. It was very much a running and gunning approach because you just think you should go harder. And I think that I've seen my group of friends really slow down into it and just stop and listen a little bit. And I've been lucky enough to watch other hunters. I watched a bull once. I was up on a ridge and I'm watching this bull, and we're thinking he's going to come up. He's going to feed his way up to us. And I see another hunter hiking in, and he's walking right up this ridge to this bull, just out in the open. And this bull sees him coming. He doesn't even know the bull sees him. And I see the bull go down and get underneath like 2 or 3 little trees. He's feeding. He goes down and he watches the hunter come up the ridge. The hunter walks right past him, goes on up the ridge, and the bull goes right back to feeding where he was.
Yeah.
And I just and I've probably done the same thing. I think about that all the time. How many bulls have seen me come and watched me? They just ducked behind a tree.
Sure.
They watched my dumbass walk by.
Well, the story I'm writing for the CBA magazine about this elk hunt, Larry Jones, who is a photographer, a author, and a very good bow hunter, and actually a video producer, Larry Jones, wrote some great articles, and he was one of the first calls that I ever purchased. And I even met him at the Sportsman Show in Denver back in the day, and had lunch with him and showed him a picture of the first elk I ever killed with some of the calls I'd used that practiced in the car driving around to my sales job. And he wrote an article about stop, look, and listen. And so I quoted him in this article I'm writing about stop, look, and listen. Is that when I left camp in the afternoon when I was going to hunt this elk, and I knew I wanted to get down the meadows, I couldn't get there until about 6:30. But I had an hour and 50 minutes to hunt this wallow when the current was just right. So I was kind of anxious to go. So I went down this long meadow, half a mile, and sat up across the big meadow and just sat there and watched, looked, and listened. And I say this in my article is that you're in an animal's house, whether it's a bird or a deer or an elk or a coyote, they know what's going on in their house.
Mm-hmm.
You can listen to the wind. You can observe things if you just sit and stop, look, and listen, and take that time to just observe. And then when it was right time, I crossed a meadow, very careful to get up to the wallow, got into my little hide, made sure everything was clear under there, and a half hour later, this bull walks
for you to
in.
step on, clear your grounded around you.
And in the article, I'm not only me as the hunter, but I am also portraying what the elk is doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking over there on the hillside hours early, wonder if I was an elk, where would I be over there? And what would I be doing right now? And so then I become the elk.
Yeah.
That I get up and I scratch and I pee and I rake my antlers, and I'm thinking about going down to the wallow, and maybe the girls are down there, because they're in the rut. And so I'm playing both avenues, the hunter and the elk, in the story, and how we kind of meet. Yeah. And but I think just observing, and I think using the camera plus just observing what's going on, and I think not only did I had some biology in college, but I had some geology, and I understand the trees and the outcroppings and the flow of the currents and the wind, and not only the predominant winds, but also the currents in the morning and evening, and how that's so important. It's always been said if you're elk hunting or even deer, you might be able to fool them with your camo and your movement, but you'll never fool their nose. And so that's so important. That's why I only hunt some areas, and I don't run all around leaving my scent around.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've been successful up there.
Yeah.
And I just like being way up off the road because the only hunters I run into are some in the afternoon or maybe in the morning. They come up 2 miles, they hunt, and then down they go because they want to be back at camp by dark. And I've
Right.
run into this a lot. And that last half hour is prime time.
That's the magic time.
And when
anyway.
I'm camping out by myself, I hear all sorts of things going on in the dark. You can hear coyotes. You can hear sometimes antlers banging a mile away or half a mile away.
Yeah.
You can sense of what's going on around you. And
Mhm.
I think that paints a picture for you of what's going on. So I don't know. That might have partly answered your
I think
question.
that's exactly what we're
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah. Be observant of what's going on
Yeah.
and understand the animal. Just don't go out there and say, well, I'm deer hunting.
Yeah.
Well, okay. What do you think? You can run around and look for a deer, but look for where that deer wants to be at that time. What
Right.
is it doing at the time where you're hunting it?
Right.
Yeah. So
How about you, Tyrel? Anything that?
I don't know how to phrase this as a question, but just going back from earlier, no smartphone, no Onyx.
yes.
That's a tough one for me to wrap my head around.
Okay.
Of this year, I was up by myself and didn't have a battery charger. Thought I was gonna wake up with about 20%. I was like, this is gonna be perfect for the morning. Only a couple miles away from the truck. I'll get down, and then I'm leaving today, so it's gonna work out fine. And woke up, my phone was dead, and was like, okay, well, I know where I'm at. This is a place I've been for a few years now. I'm gonna go up here and hunt the morning, and then I'll come back. I'm gonna tear down camp, and I'm gonna leave. And I'm right off the trail. I'll head down. Finding my camp was so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very hard to find my camp without, I'm so used to Onyx and
Yes.
checking it every 45 seconds sometimes when you're bushwhacking or whatever,
Mhm.
right? Walking through, make sure I'm online. So, I don't know a question, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around that, finding places in the woods without that help.
So I remember years ago, I was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I had a compass because that's what was available.
Yep.
And I didn't believe the compass.
Okay.
I said, I'm in a marsh. I'm in a thick willow bottom. The truck's got to be over here. And I was struggling to believe the compass. Oh, this compass has to be wrong. There must be some anomaly in the ground that's making the needle go the west way. And I was wandering around for an hour until I finally, Paul, just settle down, take a deep breath, and just figure out the compass. And the compass was right. And I think what I do sometimes when I'm in a new area, and even in an old area, as you're moving through the forest, I always turn around and look behind me to see where I've been. Because if I'm coming back out that way, I want to see, where I've been. And you can see things,
It's different moving right,
yeah,
or when you're going one way and then you come back, it looks different.
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I remember even sheep hunting up in the S32 above Georgetown. And I gave a seminar when they used to give sheep and goat seminars at Division 11. I'd bring my rams mounted up there, and I said, "This made Pope and Young by a few inches, but this is what you can look for." And I said, "Here's my suggestion." And now with phones, you can take a picture of that hillside where the rams are and see all the things that you may be able to spot when you circle around and get above them and get the wind in your favor. But I was telling people, draw a map and say, oh, there's that double tree and there's that big rock and those rams right below it. Now you can take a picture of that, because when you get over there, everything will change when you're looking over the hill.
And it's way different. I've done that.
It's
with
way
elk.
different.
I'm like, I know that bull's bed under this tree. So I took a picture. I even drew a little arrow in my phone and I hiked over there, and I thought it was 40, 50 yards. It must have been 150 yards.
Sure.
Once you get up on that, you're like, oh, these trees are way further apart than, when I was looking at it from a mile away. But I think that's a great tip.
Well, and the other tip is, I think, and I don't know if it's residents or non-residents, but I think all of us are looking for that honey hole. So let's just talk about elk, for an example. The elk honey hole. I hear this. Well, we found elk there that year, but we're going to look for a different spot. Well, wait a minute. You only hunted it 1 year. You found elk there. They had everything they needed. Why don't you go back and learn it even better? Okay.
Yep.
Instead of going over here and looking for, or asking, oh, how about there? And how about there? So I see that people are looking for that honey hole too much, wasting too much time without finding an area that they've actually seen elk in and learning how those elk are patterned in that area. And I think up in the flat tops where I've been hunting, that's why I've been successful with 5 bulls and a cow and 6 trips up there.
Yeah.
That I've figured it out. And
Yep.
I don't push them out. I don't run around. I'm very observant. I'm very cautious of where I'm hunting. And even with it's 500 yards from camp or half a mile from camp, I try to, and I don't use a fire unless I shoot a grouse.
Yeah.
If you shoot a grouse, you don't have to pluck its feathers off. Singe them off over a fire. That leaves the skin and a little blackening as an oven. Gut it out before you do it, and then gut it out. Cut the wings off, cut the head off, put a stick in its cavity, let the fire get down the coals, put that stick and grouse over the fire and just keep turning it.
Feathers and everything.
Well, the feathers are burned off now.
Yeah.
So you're going to burn the feathers off right down to the skin, but the skin is acting as an oven. So now all those juices are cooking inside instead of draining out. And then just break it apart, put some salt on it, and eat it like a caveman. That's the only time I have a fire at camp.
Is with the grouse.
Yeah, with the grouse.
And the grouse are just this little gift when you're on the hunt. And you haven't been able to draw your bow back in 3 days, and you see that grouse, like, it's just such a gift because you're just like, I just need to draw my bow. It's just a good way to refresh and feel that pressure a little bit too of having to settle in after being out there for a little bit. And God, they're delicious, especially when you're so used to freeze dried.
Well, I know
food. And
I know it. Yeah. Well, I dry apples. I've got 2 apple trees at home, and I dry apples, and they're delicious. And if you take a granola bar, like Honey and Oats granola bar, and eat it with the apples and get all that mixed in your mouth, it tastes like an apple pie.
There you go.
Almost as good as what your mom used to make.
Yep.
But I think with the jerky, I've gone on 3-day elk trips.
Yeah.
Solo with jerky and trail mix. Like you could go to Walmart and buy this tropical trail mix with all that goodies in it.
Yeah.
And then take jerky. You can graze on that all through for 3 days.
And that'll be that's your entire meal. That's an entirety
just graze on it. Take a handful in the morning and a little here, drink water, and you're good to go. Yeah.
So you don't carry a stove and all the other junk.
I do. No, not then. But I do have a jet stove, and I do that at my camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're just like a short 2-day, 3-day,
jerky, and that's your protein, and then all that. Well, this year elk hunting, one of the challenges was finding water up there.
Yeah.
So 7 years ago, that meadow near the house, near the camp,
starts to feel like your house. I'm sure you've been up there enough that it's home.
That is true.
Yeah.
Home away from home.
Yep.
Was flowing within 100 yards of my camp. But 5 years ago, it dried up. And so 3 years ago, I found water coming out of a seep off the hillside into that old dry creek bottom, and that's where I got my water. This year, it was 600 yards from my camp.
Yeah.
Enough water that I could get and purify with iodine pills.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use that clarifier that takes the taste and the color out of it.
Yeah.
The sad thing about, like to go where I had to dump the water out.
Yeah.
I went down there and filled up a 2-gallon jug and a 3-gallon plastic jug, and had to haul those back up to my camp 20 feet at a time, and I had set them down 20 feet at a time, get it up there. I killed the elk a day later. I only used the 2-gallon ones. I had to dump the 3 gallons out.
After all the hard work.
It was like torture.
Yeah.
Dumping that water out that I had so.
And that's the fun part about being up there is just how precious water gets to you. And that's why I think it's so good for us to be up in those woods is that it gets so simple, right? It's like someplace warm to sleep, right? And then where's your water and where's your food coming from? And that's it. And all the other stuff we think about all day, every day, the cell phones, the messages, and all the things coming through, it just drops it all away.
Well, Tricia has heard me say this, and she agrees. I need my private times. Now, in today's society, when there's so much going on, so much media in your face, things that used to happen 30 years ago, you wouldn't read it until it's on the 5th page of the newspaper. Now it's instant. Yeah. It's in your face. I can see how our society and young people growing up are getting deluged by news, and hardly any good news. It's always
never good.
Droughts or famine or death or politics and on and on and on in your face. And so I've always felt I need to get away from all that and get up there and just hear the wind in the forest, and maybe an elk bugle or a coyote yelp, and a true testament of the wilderness area. Think about this 150-year-old pine tree that's been staying there as a symbol of the wild, swaying with the winds over the years. And finally, 150, and in a wilderness area where they've never seen a saw up there, never heard a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, its life is ending, and the roots are rotting, and all of a sudden the wind comes through, and maybe not even a wind, because I've heard it, and this big tree just falls through the timber and crashes to the ground. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard it on windy days, and I've heard it when there's been at night when it's been dead calm, and that the roots have dried up, and that big tree that's 5 feet in diameter just says, I'm giving it up, and over it goes. And that's a reality check in life, that even those big trees just give it up and they crash to the bottom. And hearing that is part of that quiet time and a relationship with the outer doors a lot of people have never heard it. The old saying is, if a tree crashes to the ground and there's nobody around, is there any sound? You bet there is, because it vibrates around the world. That whole sound of, I've outlived my time and it's time to give it up.
Yeah.
And I think we're all going to be facing with that in our life sometime. And darn it.
Yep.
But I'm going to keep at it
going hard,
as best as I can,
I love it.
and enjoy meeting you guys and sharing some of these stories, and hopefully some person in the near future will realize that there's a life to be enjoyed out there in the wilds,
Yes.
and there's animals to be cherished, and support the Division of Wildlife and the biologists in creating this wonderful environment we have to hunt in. So we're blessed with that.
It's beautiful, and I just I agree. Hopefully, that's our whole point here, is to hope to inspire somebody else to go out and do it. You know, young man, young woman, to just go out and experience themselves, see what they find of themselves out there.
And I think, like the Colorado Bow Hunters Association, even though we don't do a becoming a bow hunter program anymore, being a member of that organization, or whether it's the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or Ducks Unlimited, have banquets. There's like-minded people that are getting together for a common need of whether it's habitat or hunting opportunities. And I would suggest anybody get involved with those organizations and go to their banquets and meet other people with like-mindedness about protecting and habitat, and like ducks and pheasants and on and on and on. So it's a good way to get involved with people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And you'll find a lot of support there, especially if you're just getting into it. This community is so willing to help and share and show you everything that they know.
I believe so.
I've seen very few people not willing to kind of step in and go, how can I help?
Sure.
Right, especially
I've been on a computer hunting blog called bowhunting.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's free, and it's got a conference room for every wild animal and small game, and it's got a conference room for every state. And I'm on there, Paul at the Fort, because Fort Collins I live, and so Paul at the Fort, and I'm on there all the time. And I try not to be controversial.
Yeah.
So anyway, Pat from out east developed this site years ago. Okay, and it's about hunting, and you can ask questions, and people will get back to you. And sometimes people get off record.
Yeah, people get a little off on those things.
Do. Yeah. Anyway, but I've been on there for a long, long time, and I wrote my moose story on there, and I did my elk story, just because there's people from around the country that will never able to moose hunt or elk hunt. And I like to get in the details. And so people, Paulie, we love your stories, because I get in the details.
Yeah.
And so they're living vicariously through me sometimes.
Yep.
And some of the guys write some good stories too.
Yep.
But and then in print, I'd like to send these off to the CBA and let our members read them. And
it's absolutely a blast. Well, that's thanks a ton for coming on. You've given us 2 hours of your time, which we're
pleasure.
so grateful for.
Well, it's been fun.
All the wisdom and just all the experience, and keep going. Hope you got 10 more years in those woods, man. I really do. For your sake.
I do too.
Yeah.
I just 1 year at a time.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. And so as I said, the life we're living today is not a dress rehearsal. This is a real deal. So grab up all the gusto you can, whether it's all facets of life. Grab up that gusto, because this is it. Yeah. So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for all your experience and energy. Thanks for coming on and spending time with me and Tyrel here.
Yeah.
It's a gift for sure. Okay.
Well, anytime.
All right.
Thank
Thank you guys for listening to the Ruckless podcast. Appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully you got something good out of this, and we'll see you again next week.
See you guys.
Hey, pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Oodle-lolly,